All righty, well, there is no better person to have at 7 o'clock in the morning than Rico Blanco next to me, so we are excited to have him here. As we all go about our daily work, there is always that special something looming in the background, and that would be maintaining our board certification. So Rico Blanco, the AOBIM Executive Director, is here to let us know all about the changes and says he's going to make it easy for all of us to understand. So we are excited that Rico is here joining us this morning. Thank you for being here.
Excellent. I probably do not need the microphone, but Dr. Enright, Susan,
you do for
the people at home. Dr. Enright and I have worked in different capacities with postdoctoral training. As she mentioned, my name is Rico Blanco. I've been with the AOA about, I want to say 8 years. But the exciting thing is I left the AOA for 1 year to manage an internal medicine residency program and cardiology fellowship. Why is that exciting? Because I also worked for the ACGME, so I understood the single accreditation transition, but I also understood the challenges that DO physicians had with osteopathic continuous certification. I'm extremely comfortable on stage, so we're gonna have an amazing conversation. So the jacket's coming off, that's all that's gonna come off. But, so usually I am on stage 5 days a week. How does he do it? He manages the certification process for AOBIM. Well, Karen knows this, the executive director from ACOI. We meet twice a week, but I teach spin classes, believe it or not. I also teach HIIT, high intensity interval training. I teach Les Mills products, all of those great things. So this is really gonna be a TED Talk. No, not really. It's just going to be a great conversation about the osteopathic continuous certification process. So as we move on to the next slide, I want to give you a little bit of history about the American Osteopathic Board Certification. So we were established back in 1939. There's today 16 boards offering certification in multiple specialties. We're nationally recognized. When I worked at the ACGME, I remember hearing about DO physicians, and I understood that there were 2 different accrediting bodies. So I like to say, having managed a residency program, having been on the allopathic side, and now on the osteopathic side, that I have a 360 view of the needs of our osteopathic physicians. We've been a certifying body for 80+ years, developed and practiced by and for physicians. Why is that statement important? It's important because your exam construction happens with your peers. They're subject matter experts that work daily, they have practices, they're clinicians, they're faculty, they're program directors. So we have this incredible set and base and foundation in how we manage outcomes for osteopathic continuous certification. I have adjusted my presentation because I had the pleasure of seeing old friends and making new friends during the exhibit. I was able to demystify some of the concern and anxiety that goes with osteopathic continuous certification. You notice I keep mentioning osteopathic continuous certification because there's something out there called MOC, Maintenance of Certification. I want to demystify because MOC is associated with ABIM and OCC is associated with the osteopathic boards. As you can see, AOA Specialty Certifying Boards, so we're under one umbrella, the Certifying Board Services. As you can see, which I'm so excited about, and I toot this horn all the time in the office, internal medicine has the largest offering of specialties. So to get that train moving requires a lot of volunteers. So here's my plug. If you ever want to become an exam item writer, please reach out to me at the AOBIM at osteopathic.org or jblanco@osteopathic.org. We're always looking for volunteers, and it's great to have your input. And it's always great to have some fresh, new faces in our meetings. All right, so I got to take it back to fitness, folks. All righty. I already talked to Matt. I seen Christine and Nathan, Joe out there, Dr. Combs. You visited the exhibit booth probably 4 times. So I'm going to talk about 4 times. So I know it's early, and I'm going to pretend I'm on a bike and I'm teaching a fitness class. There's 4 parts to a breath. There's the inhale, the pause, the exhale, and a pause. So we're going to try that. We're all going to take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. Pause. Exhale. Pause. Let's take another deep breath. This time we're going to do it for a count of 4. So let's take a deep breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Most importantly, I seen your activity, right? I can't see the folks at home, but I'm pretty sure you did that as well. So when you think about osteopathic continuous certification, I want you to think about the 4 parts of a breath. Breathing is easy. We get physicians all the time who mention they get patients who have shortness of breath. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the first component, the inhale, is an active license. You must maintain an active license. Second component, the pause. You can do CME while you're practicing, while you're working. Third component, the exhale, and this is so important because you're already certified. So I'll talk a little bit more about the longitudinal assessments for the primary exam and the existing recertification exams for the subspecialties. Last but not least is the next pause. Why is this important? It's the practice performance assessment and improvement. And why am I recognizing that as the pause? Because you're already doing it. Recently, during the pandemic, hospitals, and I was part of that when I was a hospital administrator, we increased hand hygiene. So we started to make improvements, and everyone was involved in that process, including you. That's a quality improvement assessment. So sometimes it's as easy as recognizing quality improvement initiatives at your practice, at the hospital you work at, or any clinical setting that you work in. We also offer a module about clinical competency, just in case you're not in the clinical practice. Oh, I also want to call out Dr. Goldman. Thank you for making my day the other day. I just saw you right there. Oh, and Carol, how are you? A fellow marathon runner. 2 weeks ago, I was running a marathon. That's a whole different story. If you want to hear about running, I can talk forever about it. But I can also talk forever about osteopathic continuous certification. So each exam, as I mentioned, is developed by subject matter experts. It goes through a rigorous review and developmental process. The blueprint includes a broad domain. Remember that, broad domain of the discipline. This is important when I start to talk about longitudinal assessments. The subspecialty recertification exams range from 200 to 300 items and are 5 to 8 hours in duration, which, after speaking with many of you, I recognize that some of you are in your second, third subspecialty or internal medicine recertification. Now to the longitudinal assessment. I personally love the longitudinal assessments. Dr. Goldman, can I call you out on this? Yay or nay? Excellent. So Dr. Goldman was able to share with me that she completed her longitudinal assessments in the evening right here during a conference. Were they easy? Not so easy. Was it informative? Yes. I also spoke with Nathan and Christine with the nice big breakfast over there. But, you know, the feedback I'm receiving has been very positive about the fact that the longitudinal assessment allows you to learn something that's relevant to your practice. So earlier I mentioned shortness of breath. Every physician at some point or another will have a patient who presents with shortness of breath, right? I think, let's raise our hands, including virtually, right? So that's module 1, right? The beauty of the module is, as you can see from the slide, you can complete it on your computer or mobile device. Responses are on time. Once you select your response, you could rate your confidence level. You can say, I'm feeling extremely confident or not so confident. If you select not so confident, the system automatically gives you extra information so that you can comprehend and digest what you're learning. The module is a current learning tool. Provides relevant resources, and it shows your overall progress. As I mentioned, you can take out your phone, you can do your modules on the phone. So we consider technology to be challenging for some folks. Technology is so fast that I, too, am always challenged with it. There's a longitudinal assessment timeline, and I think that's where folks are getting a little bit confused or having some anxiety. So some of you folks, your expiration date is 12/31/2024. What will happen is that you receive an email from the American Osteopathic Board of Internal Medicine asking you in 2024 to register for the longitudinal assessment modules. And keep in mind, this is for internal medicine primary. We have not moved the subspecialties there yet. So once you register, your information, once we verify active license, practice, component for practice performance improvement assessment, we submit your name for a seamless continuous certification. Here's the bonus. You get to start the modules January 1. For example, expiration 2024, modules start in 2025. This information is on our website. Something else I also heard is that our website is not user-friendly. Guess what? We can make those changes. So keep that feedback coming in, because we want to be flexible, we want to be malleable, and we want to change with your needs. For example, here are our longitudinal assessment modules. When we were administering the recertification exam for internal medicine, some of the feedback that we received was, it is no longer relevant to my practice, but important. So with modules, you're able to choose and select modules that are relevant to your practice. We are adding modules every year moving forward, and ACOI has been our collaborator, and Karen, Karuf, and I meet bi-weekly, and we have the most fantastic meetings. The reason why they're so fantastic is because we see momentum and we see change. ACOI and AOBIM are now partnering more than ever before. So I want to call out Susan Stacy, Kristen Davis, Tim McNichol, Kara, Katie, Claudette, I can't forget Keisha, but all of the ACOI staff is always available to the AOBIM staff, and we're always available to the ACOI. Here are some price points for our recertification exam fees for our subspecialties, hospice and sleep medicine, and the internal medicine longitudinal assessment. Fairly reasonable. Alrighty, so I mentioned we were just going to have a great conversation. Took my jacket off, tie stood on. Now I'm ready for any questions that you may have, and feel free to ask any question whatsoever. I'm sorry? Sure. Our website is aobim.org. Here's what's really cool as well. In a Google search, you type in component 3, it takes you directly to the AOBIM website, which is unheard of, but it's kind of cool. It means there's been so many searches on components. I just met you this morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. So a couple quick questions. I just told you I started looking into that because I have to recert my internal medicine at 24. So am I already behind the 8 ball here? Or
No, actually you are not. One of the biggest questions I received in the exhibit hall was, do I need to study for this? You do, you don't need to study. You're not behind the 8 ball. You'll get your email that asks you to register for the longitudinal assessments in 2024. What's great about the modules is you'll get the case study, and everything you need to answer is in that modules. And depending on your confidence level, you can go back to that module, to that case study. I also want to mention this. Let's say you don't successfully pass the module at the very beginning. You need an 80% pass rate. The system is so smart that it says, Dr. Matt, because I can't pronounce your last name,
it's
but it says, here's where you might want to go back and reference the case study a bit more. It actually brings more information so that the system recognizes that you're comprehending, so that when you go back and only answer the questions that you answered incorrectly, you're comprehending. And that's why there's no time limit. I've had physicians, diplomats who have started a module in March and said, you know what? The kids were yelling, I had to get breakfast on a table, went back to it 2 months later and picked up right where I left off.
So it's basically a year time frame you get to do this?
365 days.
Okay. And do you have to pay for the OCC or every year to be qualified for that? Or
yes,
is it
it's
just
an
a
annual
year,
fee.
Annual fee, okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hello, Christine. How are you?
Good. Good morning. 2 questions, and I kind of already know the answers, but just to clarify for the rest of the people. We did our modules last year, and they weren't bad, I'll be honest. But so you have to do modules every year.
That is correct.
Going forward. Okay, because just want to make sure that's clear to others, because I was not aware of that. And then also, you said subspecialties for my husband. So next year will be the old-fashioned or the current way?
The old-fashioned way, I love that.
You're going to this for all, correct?
Yes, eventually we will move most subspecialties into the longitudinal assessment model. However, it hasn't been determined. I can tell you right off the bat, cardiology is going to be one of the first because it has the largest number of diplomats. And and it's a big, you have to understand, it's a big overhaul. When we worked with ACOI and exam content and medical writers, I mean, it's reviewed. It takes 6 months. There's a case study, there's about 15 to 20 items per case study, exam items. I don't want to call it exam items, but it takes a lot of review. Then you have the medical editors, so on and so forth. But it's also bringing the subject matter experts together. And the pandemic, as we know, not only affected physicians' lives, especially infectious disease. So any infectious disease physicians out there, thank you. But thank you to all of you. It does take a lot of work, and it takes a lot of maneuvering as far as getting people with busy schedules together to make sure we have a quality module.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If you try not to be a procrastinator, you can sign up anytime prior to getting the emails and be ahead of the game?
No. Yes, we will.
Wait for my email.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's an important part that you just brought up. We do not have up-to-date contact information. I was speaking with someone the other day because we sent out communications. And for some folks, it's interesting because we may have their college COM email address, which shame on us, but also we need your updated information. So we definitely do call outs for new information. What we found is that when folks have been recertifying and they go through the application process for recertification, then we capture their new information. But ACOI and the AOBIM, we share information as much as we can in reference to, hey, can you contact this person, so on and so forth.
And do you ever anticipate broadening outside of the AOBIM OCC modules for certification credits, or do you feel like you're going to stay within those OCC modules that are on your website for credit?
Yes, we'll stay with the OCC modules that are on our website.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Enright. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Didn't want to get up this early, but here we are. With the modules, how many do you have to do per year?
Excellent. You bring up an important point. You must complete 3 modules yearly. So currently we have 15 modules, and every year we anticipate adding 3 more new modules to the current existing longitudinal assessment module program.
And you have to do 3 every year, so the following year are the ones you've already completed off your list, or can you do those again?
They're off your list. They will return and be available to your list if there's major revisions to that module.
Okay. And then right now your certificate's good for 10 years. So now when I get my, mine's up at the end of next year, so
Yes.
I anticipate getting an email early next year, right?
That is correct.
And then will I only get a certificate that's good for 1 year?
Yes, the certificates are yearly.
Okay, thanks.
You are so welcome. I like the orange hat. Hello.
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of a dumb question, but yeah, every 10 years we've had to take the recertifying exam.
Yes.
And I think I'm up in 2024 or due again. I'm confused, does this replace that system do I still take that exam, or is this in addition to, or is this replacing?
It's a replacement to the exam.
Oh, okay, so this
Yeah.
would replace taking that long exam?
Exactly. So initial certification exams make so much sense. You have residents who have completed a 36-month internal medicine residency program with multiple rotations. So it makes sense to have that broad spectrum. But as I mentioned earlier, with the research, as a practicing clinician, or depending where you work, there's only certain components that might be of value to you. And we were looking at value-based recertification processes that you didn't have to take time away from family and friends and,
It's arduous. The
absolutely. And the anxiety that goes with that. And so we wanted something that hands-on, that you can do at your convenience, that really benefited the diplomat.
So my recertifying, it'll be up in 2024. Do I wait for an email to then start? That's when I would start taking these when I
Absolutely. That's when you will register for the longitudinal
And then
assessments.
from there on in, I'll take them do this yearly. It's a
That is correct.
longitudinal process.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. How's it going again?
Something popped into my brain. So if, number one, can you register beforehand, and more importantly, do these count as CME credits? So do you get so many credits per module that go towards your state licensure?
I am so excited you mentioned that. You get 5 CME credits per module. So yearly, you are earning 15 Category 1A CME credits.
Okay. And then the other question is so if you're internal medicine and subspecialty certified, how does that work? Does that mean you have to do, once you get up to your nephrology, do you have to do just 3 that year, or are they cumulative? Do you end up with 6 if you're subspecialty? Because you said every year after you start this, you'll have to do so many modules. So
It's cumulative.
So once I get to my nephrology recert, I'll have 6 modules I'll have to do that year?
No. Yes, you'll have 6 modules when nephrology moves into longitudinal assessment, but at this time, it's still a recertification exam, so you would get credit for taking the exam. And, I'm not sure when nephrology will move to longitudinal assessment, so that remains to be determined. But yes, you would be required to maintain both.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All righty, this side, how's it going?
So to clarify, you said 5 credits per module. Those are osteopathic credits?
Yep, absolutely, specialty specific.
So people have mentioned that their recertification is coming up this year or in 2024. Mine's in 2026.
Okay.
So will we still be required to register by the 31st of December 2024? And when because mine's still a couple years away, when do I start doing these modules in regard to the 2026 recertification period?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part?
When will I be starting doing the modules if my recertification is in 2026?
You'll start January 1st, 2027. So you'll register in 2026. We'll verify that you have met component 1 and component 2 of the CME requirement, depending if you're in a CME cycle. CME cycles, for example, are 3 years. So we have 2022, just started a new CME cycle to 2024. In 2026, you'll be in a new CME cycle, so you'll be at the very middle of it. So your requirement for 60 CME credit hours would not be needed until 2027, right? So we'll see that you're actively participating in continuing medical education. You'll have to complete your component 4, but then we submit your information for recertification so that you experience a seamless recertification process.
Okay. So because my recertification's a few years away, I don't need to worry about this quite yet.
The modules, you do not, but in the
Right,
current CME cycle, you
CME,
definitely,
maintaining license. all that.
absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for your question. I like your camouflage pants. You're welcome. Hi, how are you? And then I'll jump to Goldman, Dr. Goldman.
Question
Hey.
about component 4. So I just took a high stakes exam for subspecialty, and component 4 is not like front of mind as you then are working forward. Do you get any reminders that, hey, you haven't submitted anything? I think it's every 3 years you have to submit component 4.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you mentioned the 3-year CME cycle. You're absolutely correct. You'll get a communication stating that you need to complete component 4. Thank you. We try, and that's why I mentioned earlier that up-to-date contact information is extremely necessary. So I encourage you to go online and check out your contact information because Karen, when did we send information in reference to the longitudinal assessment modules? Back in 2020 and then again in 21, right? So, we want to make sure that folks are getting our communications, but we also want you to be excited about the communications. I know there's emails that I delete on a daily basis, but I don't want you to delete the AOBIM email because we have some important information and we're looking forward to sharing, even information about the ACOI and this exhibit and how it has been an amazing opportunity for all of us to connect. I think that's something to report on, and I think that generates enthusiasm and excitement. Dr. Goldman, how are you?
Good, thank you. So just going off of the component 4, so if you're a hospitalist and don't have a panel of patients, or
Okay.
you do administration and you don't have a panel of patients, can you just speak to what the alternative is other than doing, submitting your quality patient panel?
Excellent. So earlier I was joking around, chatting all of you up and saying this was going to be like a TED Talk or a Tony Robbins talk or Oprah. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Well, guess what? You get CME. There's a clinical competency module that is available to all physicians that meets the component 4 requirement. The great thing about it is for one module, you get 3 CME credits. There's 3 existing modules at this time, which ends up being 9 credit hours. But that's a way you can meet the component 4 requirement.
So even if you have a practice with a patient panel, you could opt to do the modules for clinical competency or cultural competency and whatnot
Not
instead?
necessarily. If you do not have a quality performance improvement initiative, yes. But if you're a clinician, we kind of want you to meet that requirement by actually participating in some form of quality improvement assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. Hello, how are you?
Hi there. Just, I had an old website. It was https://occ.ecim.acoi.org.
Excellent.
When we were doing those $75 ones that really, I don't think I did, but, so that's gone.
That is correct. So back in 2020, the ACOI and the AOBIM worked together to bring revised modules, longitudinal assessments to meet the OCC requirement. We both understood a need, and we worked together to provide those modules.
Okay, and then just when you said the AOBIM has contact information, I have AOA dues that I pay and Yeah, right. ACOI dues I pay. So where does the email get, where does the contact information get pulled from? Is it the osteopathic.org database?
That is correct. So for AOBIM content, you'll want to go to your membership portal, the physician portal, and check your information.
Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Good questions. Thank you.
We have a lot of questions from our online learners.
Oh, excellent. Megan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Is everyone considered a diplomate, and does everyone have these modules to complete in their longitudinal assessment?
Okay, great. I want to define everyone. So at this time, it is only diplomate. Yes, everyone's considered a diplomate if you are certified with the AOBIM, but not everyone has to complete it. Only those who are maintaining their internal medicine certification must complete the modules. However, everyone who also has a subspecialty, for example, endocrinology, gastroenterology, hematology, oncology, you still must meet all the 4 components to maintain your certification.
And why do we start the modules after our certification expires?
Sure, excellent. I think that was the golden egg or a bonus. I'm not sure how that decision was made. It was made prior to me joining the American Osteopathic Board of Internal Medicine, which is not the best answer, I'll admit. But it's been well received, and so I jumped right on board with it.
My certification expires 12/31/22, so end of this year, will I get some kind of documentation that I'm still board certified to show work, etc., while I'm completing the modules starting in January 2023?
Absolutely. Being able to demonstrate your credentials is extremely important to us. So we also have a letter that mentions to your employer the longitudinal assessment module process and the fact that you are still currently certified and in good standing with the American Osteopathic Board of Internal Medicine.
I recertify in 2027. When do I need to start the modules?
2028, but register in 2027.
I graduated, completed internal medicine, and passed first boards in 2003, then recertified in 2013. Since then, other than getting my CMEs and attending conferences every few years, I have not done anything else. What is my next step?
Wow. Okay, without knowing more information, that's interesting. We have folks with non-time limited certifications, so I'm not sure if this is the case for this particular query, but we also, that would be concerning. So I would want that person to reach out to me because they would have taken a recertification exam in 2013 and eventually again in 2023. If they have a non-expiring certification, then that makes sense, but I don't think that's the case. So definitely whoever that is back home watching virtually, please reach out to me.
Do we have to re-register every year?
Yes, for the modules, but I received some really great feedback yesterday. Dr. Goldman, I don't want to call you out again, but that's the miracle of being able, or the opportunity of being here exhibiting and answering questions. It's generated some really great ideas that I don't want to put out there, but we're looking at multiple opportunities to remove the registration aspect of it. And that was an idea presented to me yesterday. I think it's a great idea. So stay tuned for more information because I'm going to run right back home to Chicago. Well, actually fly. Can't run that far. But it's definitely something I'm taking back to Chicago as part of the feedback.
If you fail the module, what happens next?
So we're working on a remediation process, but as I mentioned, the module continuously moves you forward. So as I mentioned earlier, you may fail the module, not get the 80% pass rate. However, the system will take you back to that module, and you may just be having a bad day. So my recommendation is step away, go back to the module a month from then, step away. If you're still unsuccessful, give me a call.
What if the person who can verify component 4 no longer works for my hospital?
Wow. No, I'm just teasing. These are great questions. Well, then we're going to hunt them down. LinkedIn. Just kidding. No, we have ways of verifying. Absolutely.
Maybe I missed it, but is the recertification exam going away and being replaced by these modules?
That is correct. The internal medicine primary exam is no longer, primary recertification exam is no longer in existence and has been replaced by the longitudinal assessment modules.
And when will subspecialties move to the longitudinal assessment process and do away with the recertification exams?
Great, excellent. This is a question I also have. I see Karen laughing because we do talk about this. A timeline hasn't been presented. I think, the hopes were that we would move fairly quickly, but over the last 2 years, it's been hard getting people together.
Is the OCC annual fee a separate entity from the annual recertification module fee?
Nope, it's the same fee.
And lastly, do you have to pay the AOA to upload CME?
Wow. All right, so that's a membership benefit. But I will tell you this. If you submit your CME to cme@osteopathic.org, they will enter in your CME.
And I thought that was the last one, but another one just popped up. I have lifelong certification. Are the modules still required?
No, that would mean you have a non-expiring certification, so you are not required to complete the modules, but you are required to complete your CME and to have an active license and practice performance as well.
That's all I have for right now, but I'm sure there'll be more.
Hey, Megan, thank you so much. Anyone else? Hey. So, seeing that there's no questions yet, I'm going to let it, the information I share digest. And I want to see if you all want to do an exercise with me. So let's go ahead. Folks at home, folks here, let's all stand up. Come on, let's stand up. All right, we're going back to that 4 parts to a breath. So I want you to go ahead, drop your shoulders, roll them back, and just drop them. Let's take that 4-part breath. So you're going to breathe in for a count of 4, pause for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and we're just going to have this amazing meditative moment. So let's take a deep breath. Exhale here. And let's do that again. Let's take a deep breath for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Previously, I helped with the family medicine OMT exam, and we had all of these newly graduated residents coming in to take their clinical exam. And I went because there was a deficit of staff, and they're like, Rico, would you mind coming and helping us with the OMT exam? And one of the things they did was place me in front of all these residents, and they're like nervous and scared. And I told them a little bit about myself and working with the Osteopathic Board of Internal Medicine, but we did some exercises. So I told them some dad jokes, right? So raise your hand if you did your squats today. Thank you. Yes. You all did your squats today. When you were seated, you were squatting. When you got up, you were completing the squat. I like to tell these jokes because it breaks the ice, but I like to tell them to physicians because a lot of times when you have a new patient or someone coming in, there may be, how do I get to break the ice with this patient? That actually works. That's a great joke. You ask your patient, did you do your squats today? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm here for my sore throat. But it's a really great way to get people to relax. If there's no further questions, Megan?
So many questions.
Oh, no problem. You can all take a seat. Oh, and I want to call out Dr. Horner. We were talking about marathons and the joy of running marathons. It's, you know, there's so much connectivity and diversity within the physician community and just in general, and I like sharing those stories. I had a bunch of students yesterday working out at Exhibit Booth 407. It was a good time. Hello. Again.
Does the $250 per year cover the 3 modules per year, or do those have to be purchased separately?
It covers the 3 modules per year.
When will the letter that I'm actively board certified be sent out if my current license expires at the end of this year?
If you're in compliance and we're able to submit it early, that's the best part. So if you are registered and you're meeting all your requirements, that letter's around the corner. And it's going to go to your email, which is great because that's another way we update contact information. When you register for the modules, you have to leave your current email.
I took the exam in 2020, 1 year early. I was due to recert in 2021. Do I start the modules in 2031?
You'll register in 2031 and start the modules January 1st, 2032.
Do you have any update on the legal proceedings preventing AOBIM from being residency directors without ABIM certification?
I love that question. And the reason why is because I do not have an update.
What if a physician misses a year of modules? How do they remedy that?
They would have to complete those modules. Okay, that's all Megan has right now. Oh, hello. We've met. How's it going?
Just a question. What if you're retired and say you're retired for the moment but may want to come back in the future? Would you need to maintain those, or would you just start where you basically left off?
Okay, so usually a physician who lets their certification last, if it's within a 3-year period, they go right back into the OCC process, pending that they've completed the CME requirements, so on and so forth. So there is kind of a penalty in a sense. If it's longer than that, they more than likely would have to take an exam, because we want to be sure that they are fully competent and confident in medicine. Hello, how are you?
You probably answered this already, but if I'm done on 2026, that's when I'm should be recertification. Usually, if you're an employed physician, you have to show that at that point, at 2026, you have to show that you're board certified.
Absolutely.
So if I'm not taking the modules till 2027, I have a year that I'm not certified.
No, you are certified.
So how do they know that?
The system is updated. So we submit your information that you've completed all 4 components. In other words, by mere registration for the modules, you are in compliance with component 3. And so what happens is internally, we submit the list of continuous certification for those physicians. So your physician profile gets updated. AOIA credentials are updated. So anywhere that credentialer looks, you're going to show as current.
Current until I finish the modules on 2027.
Not current until you're current.
Okay.
And so it's just a continuous process of completing modules and registering for them.
Okay. So if I, for example, don't complete that module in 2027, what happens?
Then we're going into a process of inactive certification, and then you will have an opportunity to reconcile that by completing the modules.
Okay. So every year, then I still have to, it's because it's only a year, it's only good for a year. So every year you're going to send a letter, or it's just going to update it? How are we doing it?
Both. So we believe in that you can over-communicate, you know? So yeah, the system will consistently just be updated.
Okay. Can you put up the fees again? Do you have
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for your question. Oh, there we go. You are so welcome, and it's good to see you again as well. Hi, how's it going again?
Doing well. So you said that the CME reporting for the AOA is free. They'll upload it. Does the AOA know that? Because if you go on their website, it says there's a fee of $199 per year if you're not a member of the AOA.
That is correct. So if you're a member of the AOA, you get access to self-report. You get access to upload your CME, attest to your CME, if you're a member. And then you get access to your CME report. If you're a non-member, you can still send your CME to cme@osteopathic.org, and they enter it in the system. You still can access your CME report, but they have a record of your CME.
And what if they're not AOA credits? So like I live near a big university hospital. They're all, ABIM credits. So can I still report those? Because there's a $35 fee to get them converted to AOA credits.
Yes, so two things. When they're uploaded, they're categorized as category 2A or 2B. So 1A and 1B, as you know, are osteopathic credits. Category 1 AMA, PRA, is recognized by the AOA as non-osteopathic. So they're categorized as 2A, 2B. On our website for osteopathic.org, they've enhanced the CME process. So before there used to be just a CME guide and you sort of have to walk through it. There's also, what they did is they broke it down, so there's actually a guide that breaks down the categories and descriptions of each AOA category. For example, home study, interactive, and online.
Okay.
And so you're able to see the conversion.
All right. Thank you.
You are so welcome. It's good to see you again as well. Excellent. Megan, more questions from our home group.
I work as an independent contractor in a surgery practice in weight management, and we do practice improvements through a state bariatric surgery collaborative. Would I be able to use this? Also, as a contractor who is not employed and do not have my own office, will there be concerns with some of the components?
I don't think there should be any concern. The components should reflect the needs of any physician at any stage of their career and any direction of their existing career. As far as the bariatric, without knowing more, I can't say if that's going to meet component 4. I would need to have more information. And usually what a diplomate would do, if they were concerned, they would reach out to us at AOBIM at osteopathic.org, or enter in the component 4 information, and once reviewed, if there are any questions pertaining to its validity or whether or not it's meeting the expectation, we will definitely reach out.
I'm coming up on my first internal medicine recertification exam this year.
Congratulations.
And am also boarded in a subspecialty not due for recertification until 2025. Is primary certification in internal medicine required to continue certification and the recertification process for my subspecialty?
It depends on which subspecialty it is. So on osteopathic.org, if you go to the Bureau of Osteopathic Specialists Handbook, there's Appendix L and Appendix M. Appendix L tells you which subspecialties require internal medicine primary to be maintained. And Appendix N tells you which subspecialties do not require a primary certification to be maintained. Without knowing the subspecialty, I probably can't answer that question fully, but the information is there.
What's the website location for access to the modules?
Absolutely. So you would go to the osteopathic.org website. You will click on our learning management system, our LMS, and get access to you'll use your user credentials to log in.
What is the reason that we cannot apply now? Why do we have to wait until the year our certification expires?
We're on a fiscal year, but that's not the exact reason. It takes a lot of administrative effort to roll diplomates in. And so from that perspective, it'll be great. Yes, you have the finances to register, but it's not efficient for the diplomate or AOBIM staff to monitor that. So if someone were to pay their fees at this time, it would be in fiscal year 22 to 23. Then you have to hold that $250 and not recognize it until, for example, expiration year 2027.
And the person who asked the question about both internal medicine certification and subspecialty just said subspecialty is cardiology.
Oh, excellent. You are good to go with cardiology. However, I want you to recognize that if you are also certified in interventional cardiology, electrophysiology, you must maintain the cardiology because the cardiology acts as the primary certification. Thank you for the follow-up. I love that. Quick.
That's all I got for right now.
Excellent. How's it going again?
Two questions for you. First, do you have to maintain membership in the AOA to go through this process? That's question number one.
Okay.
And the second question is sort of, I think, what my colleague was referring to. You know, when you're, say, employed by a health system, looking for another job, they want to know the expiration date for your certification.
Absolutely.
So mine is, you know, at the end of 2023. So I'm going to go into January 2024, and it looks like my, you know, that I'm expired. I understand you say you'll send a letter, but does your letter give an expiration date for your board certification at the end of the following year?
It does. And the system reflects that as well. So if someone's going through AOIA or you're on the physician portal, you could print up a screenshot that shows your new expiration date. Oh, that's a very good question. I'm glad you mentioned that. No, AOA has decoupled membership and certifying boards. Some folks remember when you had your certification, it was required to be a member of the AOA. That is no longer in existence, which is a good thing. Anyone else? All right, one more fitness-related deal that I did with these students in the exhibit hall. So we were giving out hot and cold packs, and someone mentioned that their fellow medical student had a piriformis issue. So we were talking about squats. And then we started talking about running. So does anyone know what a baby T-Rex is? Anyone? Any runners out there? So I just told them basically, exactly, Megan has it. When you're running, hands are up here, you're a baby T-Rex. So I want you to go out there today, if there's no further questions, and be a baby T-Rex and release all that stress in your shoulders. And thank you for being here at the ACOI annual convention, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to demystify the OCC process. And you can reach out to me directly at jblanco@osteopathic.org. But I also monitor the AOBIM email as well, so reach out to me for anything. Yay. Thank you. That was fun. That was